Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be going over S-Class Callie and basically trying to figure out what a good starter guide would be for this character. When I did do my review of this character, obviously went quite in depth on her rush, her active, her specialist skill weapon, how it all worked together, because she's very different and she was kind of exciting because of that. And that is the reason I am doing this guide. I have had actually quite a lot of requests because this character is a little bit out of the norm compared to other characters. There's not really anyone you can really compare it to in how you would gear this character out, and that is mainly because of the stat balance and the fact that she is a bide character and how you'd want to try and build this character. So if you do want to see how her rush, her active, and her specialist skill work, you might want to go and check out my initial review. This is mainly going to be about how much we're going to be upgrading those skills and why, the combat mods, and also the weapon upgrades. So first we'll come to the skills, and as you can see I have maxed out the rush instantly because it is very worthwhile doing. Not many characters, if any, are ever worth not maxing out their rush, but there could be the odd one now and again. But I always would say maxing out the rush is generally a safe thing to do. When it comes to the active, that's where you want to maybe hold back until you're 100% sure. And when it comes to Callie's active, you're in exactly the same situation. You can get it to level 6 very, very safely because the initial cooldown goes down to 2 at this point. It's when you go to 7 is when the initial cooldown goes down to 1. You can see 2, 1 as I go up to 7. And the difference here, there's two things that will change. Obviously, she's not going to be doing 100% bonus HP turn 1, but it's also the 50% AP gain. So turn 1, she'd gain 33 AP from doing 50% AP gain because her rush is 66 AP. But if she was to do a basic attack turn 1, she'd gain 42 if she had a huge bonus on attack. That is actually quite a big difference in AP. And if you had AP percentage weapons on any other characters, she could potentially get a first turn rush. I've seen this done with other alert characters like the Trader, who is also 66 AP. Getting that first turn rush off is extremely powerful. Taunting 3 into her bide. She also has this active skill to fall back on if she doesn't get her rush up instantly, so she can always bring this back up. It's not going to be that big a problem. The downside, however, is if she does a basic attack turn 1, does not get command rush, or does not control the right characters, someone could be using a Wang Fa on attack, give her 100% heal reduction, and then she will not get this 100% bonus HP. This 100% bonus HP is extremely powerful. So I would probably say it's safer to max this out to make sure she gets the 100% bonus HP, just so she's at least takes longer to take down, versus just trying to cheese a command rush on Callie. She's going to rush no matter what if she gets that 100% bonus HP up, unless she is going to be controlled. I think that the bonus HP is going to be more of a problem to people than her initial rush coming off turn 1. So that's why I've decided to max out both the rush and the active. As you can see, max. The main thing now with Callie is we've got to decide how we're going to build her and basically how much HP we're going to give her and why. It's mainly going to revolve purely around her specialist skill, and I'll just read through it. This character stores the damage it takes from attacks, active abilities, and rushes after storing damage equal to 30% of its max HP, or if the defend action is used, deal 150% of the stored damage to one enemy immediately. Stored damage is reset to 0 after use. Bide does not trigger if this character is taken down. Now, this is where you've got to try and work out how much HP you want to give this character. If she goes on a team with a Jesus lead or any other leader that has a 40% HP lead, she will have 11,897 HP. This is enough for her bide to do 5,054 damage every time it procs. This is generally going to be enough to take out a character that is attacking you. However, 11,800 HP isn't like huge amounts. Until that bonus HP goes off, that isn't huge amount. She could potentially be controlled turn 1, and if she is normalized, she is very susceptible to just being destroyed by the likes of Priya. This is why boosting her HP up really high, the negatives there is it's going to take a long time for her bide to proc, but her defense is always going to be low. Right now, this is with the 30% base on her weapon, but if we remove that and put HP instead, you will see the defense obviously drop back down. So now she has a weapon swapped into her hands that does not give any defense, and you can see her defense goes extremely low, and now she has 16,000 HP. This is with a 35% weapon, and generally speaking you would get it up to about 45% if you went with HP on the weapon. with 16,061 HP. Her bide attacks would do 7,227 damage. This is almost guaranteed to take out an offensive character on an attack team, and this is where it's getting into an area where it's potentially a bit too high now. But because her defense is so low, it doesn't matter too much, because she will be taking much purer damage because she's going to have a lot less reduction. So it's not like it's going to take extra time for this to actually build up, because she's going to be taking extra damage because of it. Now, if she has a 45% HP weapon in hand, you can see that she goes up to 17,678 HP, and now her bide attacks are pretty much doing 8,000 damage, and this is pretty much the limit. I wouldn't try and go too much higher than 17,500 HP, otherwise the bide is going to suffer, I feel. You do want her bide attacks to be still doing significant amounts of damage, but you also want them to be proccing as often as possible. So this is going to be the target HP, and to get this we will need to upgrade her HP on the weapon, but not her mods. So because of this, we are going to go with defense set on the mods, and we're going to be going with defense on defense, defense versus tough, and we're going to be going with taunt resist, just because I'm guessing that a lot of people are going to try and use princess against Callie. The bonus you've got with doing it this way as well is, if you don't have the leader bonus that gives you HP percentage, you can change the mods out for HP, because later on down the line you can't decide, hey, actually I want to change my weapon to a defense weapon so easily. Unless you have a secondary weapon built up, you are going to lose that third slot, which I do think is actually quite good for S-Class Callie. So you can't keep that third slot and just swap the defense and HP around willy-nilly. Where you can do that is in the mods. So for instance, if a leader comes out like Angel, where it only gives a defense boost and you need extra HP, you can swap out all these defensive mods on Callie and just pile on the HP instead, just to give her a couple of extra thousand here. I would actually say it's not worth going for a massive defense mod. Just a gold one should be enough. If you do have a platinum defense on defense, it will give you more defense, but you might want to just test it out just to see whether it's worth taking a little bit more damage or not. Finding the balance on Callie is going to be really important, and that's what we're trying to do here. Now, when it comes to Callie's auxiliary slot, there are a few upgrades that could be worth going for here. For instance, you could go with defense while stunned. So while she is controlled, she will get a defense boost and she'll take less damage. However, it is worth noting that when she is stunned, her third slot on her weapon will still work, because it's not like a stun on defense or an impair on defense. Those sort of upgrades do stop working, effectively allowing you to become a window. On Callie, she will still get healed by her third slot special, even if she is stunned. But if she is disarmed, then it will stop healing her. So that's where you could decide, if she is disarmed, you can give her a defense boost. So you could do defense while disarmed, which I have seen on quite a few characters as well. You could potentially go with Graze to reduce incoming damage, but you could see that as counterproductive in terms of how you're trying to build Callie, by actually trying to take more damage and deal out more bite damage. Or you could go with Reflect, and Reflect would effectively double down her potential output, where if someone hit her for like 5,000, she would potentially hit them back with a bide and part of Reflect. If those characters get Guardian Shields, it would remove the Guardian Shield with the Reflect first, I believe, then the bide attack would hit. And that is why we are indeed going to go with Reflect here. As I see, this is just more potential for Callie to deal more damage effectively. She is going to be controlling people with her rush that has got taunt on it, of course. So she's going to be taunting people into the Reflect and taunting people into her bide. At the very least, it's just going to do a little bit extra damage. It is worth noting that any character that does get Reflect damage will gain bonus AP as if they are being hit. So if they take 50% of their HP as an attacking character, they're potentially going to be able to get their rush extremely quickly. This is definitely the biggest downside when it comes to Reflect. But it is, however, a massive counter to one of the most dangerous characters when it comes to facing Callie, which is going to be Priya. Now, in the wildcard slot, I would definitely go for a second resist, and you can pretty much go with whatever you want out of the main ones where it comes to confuse resist, impair resist, or stun resist, and not really go wrong. You could potentially go for trauma resist here. It really depends on what kind of weapon you're aiming to get. If you are going for a cleanse weapon, trauma resist could be important. There are a lot of characters that have trauma nowadays, because if she cleanses an attack, she will take that much damage. But for this one, I'm just going to put in confuse resist, because I have been seeing a lot of characters with confuse on them. I don't really think you can go wrong. I think taunt resist should be the primary, just because of the potential of princess against Callie, but after that, like I said, it's completely up to you. So we're going to lock in these mods, and as you can see, her defense hasn't gone up that high. 3.6k is not that high at all. She's still going to be taking huge amounts of damage, and now we're going to be boosting her HP on her weapon. Now when we take a look at her weapon, it's got that 30% defense on there. That is the one we're going to swap out for HP, of course. Now we're going to go for perfect on the 4-star, so we're going to go for 40% HP on the initial upgrades. So we've upgraded her weapon to 40%, and now you can see with the Jesus leader bonus and the weapon, she has gone up to 17,051 HP. We'll upgrade this weapon to 5-star, of course. So then after upgrading the weapon hundreds of times potentially, you could get cleanse, and cleanse is probably the best option to go for in the 4 slot in my opinion. If you don't want to go for cleanse, you could potentially go for doubling down on the AP. So you could go for like AP on attack and AP on defense. That would make her like a dual window where she would be gaining bide from being attacked, and she would obviously be gaining AP as well. So after fully upgrading the weapon, we did manage to get a perfect weapon on this little test run through, and this is probably what I'd say is the best weapon you could go for on Callie in terms of being the most annoying. Definitely the most annoying. Cleanse weapon is frustrating to come up against, especially if you hit that normalize, or if you do manage to get through the taunt resist and finally hit that taunt and she just cleanses it. Really frustrating. So now we can see in the team with Jesus, she's got 17,646 HP, 4,596 defense. She's got extremely low defense here, massively high HP. It does balance itself out a little bit. She will be taking obviously extra damage because of that low defense, but she's got the extra HP to take the hit. She will obviously do that 100% bonus HP first turn as well, and we can see how that's going to roll out if we test out some attacks. So coming up against the team first turn, I'm just going to put all my damage into Jesus here. You can see that there was a rampage attack that actually took place, but it's not going to be a problem because, as you're going to see, she didn't take any damage, and then the 17,500 bonus HP comes in. So now she's got over 30,000 HP. She's got 36,000, 35,500 or something like that. She's got a huge amount of HP. This does mean if I rush her, I will still do damage, but I will be hit by that bide, and I barely did a quarter of her HP there. And that is what happened. Same thing's going to happen with basic attacks. And this is where I'm getting one shot and hit by the reflect. The numbers are good for me getting one shot by this. This is exactly what we wanted to see. Now, one of the things I did mention with Callie is she can potentially be susceptible to trauma, particularly because she's got the cleanse weapon, but she will obviously proc any trauma when she resists. So we'll do a basic attack with Nick. Every character who is alert gets 4,000 trauma, whether he does damage or not. As you can see, Jesus, 4,000 trauma, Callie, 4,000 trauma. This does mean that every time Callie resists, she will take 4,000 damage. And every time her weapon cleanses, unless it cleanses the trauma itself, she will take 4,000 damage. So if she resists this taunt right now, she would take 4,000 damage. She's not going to resist, but she has 2 extra effects on her right now. So we'll see if she can take extra damage. She's got 4 effects on her right now. Hopefully she can cleanse some. She does cleanse something. She takes 8,000 damage because of the 8,000 trauma that she had on her. This is going to be a massive problem for someone with this much HP because the bonus HP just isn't taken into consideration. So this is where it might be worth putting in a trauma resist. Even if you're not getting the set bonus, trauma resist could be good, especially if you have a cleanse weapon, just because you're going to be more susceptible to it being an issue, and she could potentially get one shot by cleansing something if the trauma was built up enough. Remember, trauma does stack, so if multiple sources of trauma do come up against Callie, that trauma number can go really, really high. So those are my ideas and a starter guide for S-Class Callie. boost up her HP on the weapon, use her mods based on her leader. If you're getting HP bonuses from her leader, you do not need HP bonuses in the combat mods. If you're not getting HP bonuses from the leader, you might want to boost her HP in the combat mods. You do not want to go too high with her HP. I think 17,500, 18,000 is pretty much the highest you want to go. Past that, you just kind of, it's a waste at that point. Defense, again, you should be fine until you hit around 6,000 to 7,000. Then the damage reduction will be obviously a bit too high to take advantage of her bide. And as shown with that trauma, you want to be very, very careful there. But it's definitely worth just having a little bit of a fiddle yourself with your own S-Class Callie just to see how it works. If there's a particular way you want to build her, you could potentially go with no defense versus mod. And instead of defense versus, you would go with attack versus, just so you don't take reduced damage from any trait. You could potentially give her a crit set, just so you're getting no extra defense. There are definitely some potential tactics you can do with this stuff. It is completely up to you. Definitely worth testing out. This is a character that is extremely powerful, and tweaking her build as you go, you'll find a build that works best for you. This is hopefully just a good foundation and some ideas for you to take your Callie forwards. And if you have any extra thoughts, please leave them down below in the comments. I always do like to read your ideas when it comes to character builds. That is going to be the end of my video today. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.